Okay, let's begin. We're about to finish Shahar Yuchid V'Hamuna today. Let's see what the Yom Yom has in store for us. The Yom Yom says, 6 Tammuz, the effect of each particular mitzvah act, the action of the mitzvah, is called forth by doing other mitzvah acts, which are makif. So we have the act and another mitzvah act which encompasses and surrounds it, and that helps for the inner act to get some power from the makif. So the mitzvah of tzedakah, for example, is one of those makif, all-encompassing mitzvah acts, which is evident from the fact that the reference that Chazal, our sages, referred to all mitzvahs as tzedakah. For this reason, it is most appropriate to give a coin to tzedakah before performing any mitzvah. This has the effect of bringing the general makif, aura, surrounding aura, into the panemius, the inner aspect. In other words, it empowers, it brings empowerment to each of the specific mitzvahs. This type of makif, the inner aspect, is called a close makif, because mitzvahs in general are makif. Mitzvahs in general are versus Torah. Torah is panemi. You learn it, you bring it into yourself. Mitzvahs come from God's ratzon, from His will. This is what Hashem wants. Ultimately, they're in the realm of things which are not understandable at all, even though, as we know, there are some mitzvahs which we can give a reason to because it helps society and orders society. But it comes from ratzon. Ratzon is the crown, which is the aura, which is the soivet. And Torah is, you eat Torah, you drink Torah. The Torah is compared to water that you take in. So the inner aspect here of the mitzvah, now we're talking mitzvah, right? The soivev, circle, it would be like a circle within a circle. The inner circle, the inner makif, the inner, which is the specific mitzvah, is empowered by the bigger mitzvah. In this case, we said it's tzedakah as the bigger mitzvah, and the particular mitzvah is any one of the others. So nonetheless, this type of makif, this relationship between the outer circle, tzedakah, and the inner circle, the particular mitzvah, is a close relationship. So it's called in Hebrew makif hakorev, a close makif, whereas the makif of Torah, which is learning Torah, learning, not ingesting, just learning, studying Torah, is a makif, a father makif, a makif a rochek, a father. So the seder is that Torah has two aspects. One, which is it encompasses everything, including not only mitzvahs, but all the creation as well. As the Zohar says, "Stakli deraisa ubara olam." He looked into the Torah to create the world, and yes, that is an all-encompassing energy, as we'll actually finish up in today's Tanya today. But Torah also has study. Gadol Torah shemevi l'dei ma'aseh. Right, great is Torah because it brings to deed. So in that respect, the learning of Torah is an aura, a makif, surrounding, all-encompassing force, which empowers the mitzvahs. Gadol Torah, great is Torah, because it brings to doing. That's today's Yom Yom. Lessons in Tanya. We're going to conclude Shah Yichud V'Hamuna, starting on page 990. 990, bottom of the page. Very small group today.
You mean 190? 290?
Well, what I'm looking at, but what did I say?
990.
Lessons in Tanya, my book says 990.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong book, sorry.
990. Okay. So we've been speaking about the mashal of God speak. We've been speaking about God speak. How the energetic of creation is is given the name by Hashem himself in his Torah speech. Vayemer v'yahi is a pasuk. He said, and things come into being. And each of the 10 utterances, Vayemer Hashem yahi or, let there be light, speech. And then we said that these 10 utterances are the root utterances from which all other things are made, in the sense that and we brought letters of speech. There are 22 letters in the alphabet, and through all the combinations, permutations, transformations, substitutions, and then the diminutions of those lower and lower and more without end, all of creation is brought into being by the letters. So he says today, we're on page 178 in this Lessons in Tanya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines up from the bottom. Kihain, these letters, as they come through myriad transformations and substitutions, derek mashal, by way of a metaphor, dugmas or hamer belayla be'oretz min hayoreach, these transformed, substituted, recomboed, and recombinated letters are like the light of the moon. The light of the moon versus the light of the sun, as we'll see. It's a reflected light. It's a diminished and reflected light. These combinations from the original 22 or from the original 10 utterances. They are like the light of the moon, the light that shines at night in the earth from the moon. Ve'or hayereach, and the light of the moon is mehashemesh, is a reflected light from the sun. He doesn't say reflected, he just says that the light of the moon is from the sun. V'nimsa, it comes out that the or shel ha'oretz, the light which is on the earth, hu or ha'or, it's a light from a light. A derivative, that's better than reflected, a derivative light. Shel Hashemesh, who's rooted in the sun. The Kocha Mamish, similarly, exactly, derek mashal, by way of a metaphor, the Oisiyah Shebaimoris, the letters of the 10 utterances, in Klalis Hamshochas Achayas, they are the entire generality of the drawing down of life force. They're like the sun, the light of the sun. They're the entire source of all the generality. They're the generality of everything which is being drawn down. And they are the lights and the power from God's holy midos to create worlds. These are the 10 original utterances, which include, and as they come into the midos, chesed day 1, gevura day 2, etc., etc. Light day 1, rakia day 2, chesed and gevura, and etc., etc. So these are the originals that are brought down to lahachiyos, to enliven the worlds, l'kaimim, and to keep them in existence, kol zman meshach letzonei yisborach, for the entirety of time that Hashem wills the world to exist. Well, it's an interesting expression, right? Kol zman meshach letzonei yisborach, all the time that God's will is willing the world to exist. He wills the world to exist, but he implements it through his words. Just like the same seder we have. We have a will for something, we think about it, comes down to thought, and we have a feeling for it, then we act upon it, or in the mashal of the king, which is Hashem, the king speaks it to someone else, the subjects of the king, and the subjects do what the king wants to do. All the time, what's behind the midos, which are the 7 days of the week, right? The chesed, gevura, etc., is the thoughts and ultimately the will of Hashem, which is driving everything. The klalulus hamshochas v'ha'or gedayla hazu, and the top of page tzaddik, and the whole generality of this drawing down, this aura and this great aura, this great ray of light, of the aura of Hashem, of the light of Hashem, The himshik mimenu toldoisa, there's drawn from that offspring of each of the original lights, which are similar to it, but in a different format. This is the way we talked about earlier, the transpositions and the substitutions of letters. So their source devolves into various and myriad transformations, but it all has the connection to the origin, even as it comes out into its branches. Which these transformations and permutations are all drawings down of the light from the original oisius. The hein kulufi oisius v'tamrusehem. This is what he says. And these derivative lights are brought about by the transposition and the substitution of letters. And with the myriad transformations and substitutions, and we added earlier, the Alter Rebbe did gematrias and all other ways in which letters and the shape of the letters and the substitutions of different shapes of letters for instance, and we brought earlier the difference, we said echad and voed in Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Hashem echad, the higher level of unity, and Baruch Hashem Kebed Malchus Le'elam voed, where voed is a transformation of letters of echad, which we explained over there when we did it back a while ago. So that those myriad transformations and substitutions, borabahen brurim protem, they are the proximate causes of each of the myriad creations of the specific creations, shebechol olam, in each and every world. V'chein hoira Hashem oid, and similarly Hashem radiates even more, the himshich, and draws down, the yored, and brings a descent in these transformations and combinations of a ha'ora de ha'ora de ha'ora, of a ray of a ray of a ray. It stops with 3, but it can go on infinitely. Infinite combinations, substitutions, etc., transformations, gematrias, and smallnesses, diminutions, etc. Lower and rays, a ray, which and then a more fine ray, a smaller ray, and a smaller ray. Miha'oris, the ha'oisius, from the letters from the lights of the original letters. V'chein himshich oid, and he draws them down. They are drawn down more and more. V'hoidid, and they descend ad lamata mata to the lowest of levels. The v'chinas histalshalis, of all of which we call the seder histalshalis, the order of descent of the chain of energies. Until there is created from them mamish, meaning substantial, inanimate things, like stones, the offer and dirt. And they become their names, Evan, the offer, like we call a stone in Hebrew is an Evan, and offer is the dirt. Their names, in chilupim de chilupim, they are transpositions and transpositions infinitely. He says the v'chulu, etc., the tamuras, and substitutions of substitutions, etc., etc. Now with that, he ends Shar Yithan B'Hamuna. Now, why, and thinking about this, sort of leaves you, okay, what? Remember, and this I think could be a decent summary, if you turn back, if you have the book in front of you, to the very beginning of Shar Yithan B'Hamuna, on page 152, I'm going to just read this. This is the way Shar Yithan B'Hamuna began. That everything is created. This is the middle page 152. I'll just read it in English. If the letters that Hashem speaks everything into existence with were to depart for one moment, God forbid, and if the letters were to return to their source, and here we'll just offer the letters, in the letters, of course, this is an analogy, speech is an analogy. If the letters that I'm speaking now were to revert to their source, what's their source? So the proximate source is in the 5 articulated powers of the mouth, right? That gives the shape to the letters that come out of the mouth. But the deeper source of the letters is the breath, which infuses everything. The letters wouldn't have any shape or sound without the breath, which is a much more general thing before any articulation. And we know, in medical terms, if breathing stops, there is no life. So similarly here, if the source of all letters were to stop, everything would be to revert to nothing. This is the beginning of Shar Yikudbim when explaining God's intimate investment in everything, no matter how small the particle, in order for that thing to be in existence and to have continued existence. So if not, if that were to revert back to its source, then I'm just translating it in English, the entirety of heaven and earth would become and revert to absolutely nothing. And it would be as if everything were absolutely nothing as it was before the utterances, let there be light, or let there be Erkiya Mamish. And likewise, all the creatures, all the creatures in all the worlds, in the upper worlds and the lower worlds, and even this world, this physical world, and including the inanimate, Mamish, if they were to be departed from this for a moment, this breath and these letters from the 10 utterances with which everything were created in the 6 days of creation, so everything would revert to absolutely nothing, mamish, as everything was before the 6 days of creation. So Shahar Yichud Ve'amuna is a story, ultimately, of the intimate involvement. Involvement isn't even a good word. The intimate, come up with a better word. Interweaving, as Mike said, scholarless, interweaving of godliness in every single detail of creation, which gave rise to a whole discussion, remember, about Hashgacha Pratis. The Hashgacha Pratis isn't he's up there watching, observing the world. He's intimately interwoven into every particle of it. And that's the belief that we have as Jews in the Yichud, the unity of Hashem. And with that, we have Nishlam Chelik Sheni. We've completed the second part of the Tanya.
I would say invested, intimately invested, right?
Invested is a good word. Yeah. Enclosed, wrapped up in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you remind me how the Echad becomes Va'ed?
Yeah. Although I have one little piece missing in it. But, well, the Dalet is the Dalet. That's the easy one, right? Echad and Voed. The ayin in Voed is a substitution based on the fact that ayin and aleph are in the same family of guttural letters. Although we don't pronounce, in Ashkenaz, we don't pronounce the aleph from a guttural way. It's a guttural letter. And so that's rooted in the same part of the mouth. I don't know, I have not seen, and I don't know how the vav and the ches, because vav is a different place of articulation. There's another level of relationship that I'm just not aware of.
Well, maybe because the ches is half vav, half zayin?
It could be maybe anything. I don't know. If somebody comes across it, I would love to. I just never researched it. And every time I come across it at Tanya, I say, I should figure that out. Well, or not figure it out. Go find it. But that's it. So we see, I mean, interesting, just when we say that we can substitute letters based on a lot of different aspects of the letters, including what part of the articulative power they come from.
So we're alive as long as Hashem wants this whole world and this whole shebang.
Yeah,
which is a v'chein for me, because if we're alive, it means Hashem really wills it and is really actively making it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a good v'chein. And not only making it happen from above, but as you said, what was your word? Invested in it. One thing I don't like about invested, like it has the word of invest money. You put the money in, you walk away and see what happens. But he's investing. Hislabshus is another word. He's enclosed. Another word, he's absorbed in it. He's absorbed. Yeah. Every part of him is in every part of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Anybody else? Any comments? So we're going to go on to Igeres HaTshuva, and Igeres HaTshuva will remind ourselves of a couple of things before we start. First of all, two Maimorim Chazal. Gadol Shuva, great is Shuva, because it brings the Geula. And also great is Shuva because it brings Refuah, healing and Geula, subject of the next section. So Mirza Hashem, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Good luck.
Good day.